Hey folks, it's time for another TWiP Pro Photo Critique session. This is session number 36. This is TWiP. Hey folks, welcome back to This Week in Photo, the TWiP Pro Photo Critique Sessions. This is a session this is a show where we take some of the submissions, or all of the submissions that have come in over the past week into the TWiP Pro community, and my partner in crime, Mr. Troy Miller, and I sit down to review and nitpick them as best we can with constructive criticism. Troy Miller, man, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. The nitpick, that's going to be the theme, right? That's going to be our that's our tagline.
We'll have to do them in our nasally old lady voice, you know. We're just like, I kind of like it, but yeah, it's better to armchair quarterback than to actually do this stuff.
That's true.
Not actually, but speaking of actually doing stuff, a couple of shows ago, you were ragging me for not submitting anything into, any photos, or very few photos into TWiP Pro. So I was out shooting this weekend. I was telling you this in the green room, and I got some shots, actually over this past week, I got some shots of a boulder with water running around it, and I wanted to experiment with long exposures and the dual IS that the G9, the Lumix G9 has, because it has in-body and in-lens image stabilization. It uses them both at the same time. So I put it to the test. So I was standing on a log that was crossing a creek with water running underneath me and fish in there. You guys see fish in there. So water running underneath me, and there was a boulder and water rushing around it. So I'm like, can I do a long exposure of this with no tripod? Tripod was in the car like half a mile away. So I'm like, I could go back and get the tripod, or I could try to handhold this. So I handheld it, and I will post the results of that image into
nice.
Show and Tell. I was kind of blown away, just to not bury the lead. I was blown away at what you could do versus, in my day, you had to have a tripod for anything longer than a 60th of a second.
That's true, though. That's true. That whole rule about focal length and shutter speed, that doesn't work anymore.
No,
not with that image stabilization. Yeah, no kidding.
Well, rules are just casual suggestions anyway, right? So they were meant to be fractured and stretched and broken. Well, so
as the tech gets better, that just gives us an opportunity to do more.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I remember those rules, though. It's like, you gotta use a tripod for this kind of photography, or for this or for that, or you gotta have supplemental lighting for this and that, and all those rules are they're like fading into the darkness now, because we can capture photons that haven't even been created yet. Speaking of that, before we dive into this week's critique, I need an update on that Nikon Z7 that you've been shooting with. You posted some stuff in TWiP Pro. So what's you've lived with her for a week now. Is she putting the toilet seat back up, or are you still in love?
It's a good life. It's good. The thing is freaking amazing. And, having had the Sony for so long, and then now playing with the Nikon mirrorless, it just fits into the Nikon ecosystem, which is just amazing. But you talk about image stabilization. The image stabilization is out of this world. I mean, I'm holding shots at half a second. I photographed the SpaceX launch. Well, not the actual launch, but I saw it from my house, and I run outside and 10,000 ISO, and I'm hand holding it, and the stars are sharp at 1/6 of a second.
Wow.
That just hasn't happened before. And, the high ISO quality is outstanding. I love it. I mean, I've done a couple jobs with it. I'm super stoked. I've got 2 weddings this weekend. I'm super stoked. So yeah, it's
all right.
It's
and this isn't a case of Stockholm syndrome, right?
No.
Yeah, and that's why, honestly, I say that jokingly, because you're the anti-Stockholm syndrome guy. So if it sucked, you would have said, I kind of made a mistake. So
yeah, it'd be back at Sammy's, like it'd be gone. Yeah. I wouldn't have kept it for very long. But no, I mean, there's a lot of good about it that I love. It's it's frustrating to read all the negative comments about it. I mean, in reality, I think Nikon built the perfect camera. It fits right in that ecosystem. The single the card slot is so that it doesn't compete with their Pro D5 and D850, probably.
Right.
Probably. Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be my secondary camera. It's going to be my put in my bag and go everywhere. Yeah. I carry this thing with me everywhere. Yeah.
They built it for you, man. They built that.
They did.
Well, not for you specifically, but they built it for Nikon people that were, they wanted to go mirrorless and they didn't want to leave the family. So, you know, and I would guess if it performs like you're saying, it's going to lure some people over from competing factions into it, right? So
yeah, I mean, it's awesome that it does what it does the way that it does it, because it fits perfectly in my Nikon world. Yeah. And I've been shooting Nikon for 25 years, so I picked this thing up and I'm like, oh, this is for me. You know, it's good.
Yeah, when you pick up a camera and you involuntarily make the sound, you know you got to buy it. That's the first step on their way to the credit card.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the store. I tear the box open and I put a battery in it, and I'm shooting with it, and I'm just like, oh, this is nice. Okay, let me see. Let me set the manual focus to do X, Y, Z. Oh, that's a lot of smart things in there.
Yeah, little surprise and delight Easter eggs in there.
Functionality. Some of the functionality is fantastic.
Yeah.
I really like the way that they thought things through, how you access menus, what the manual focus ring does, how beautifully smooth that is. Yeah, lots of good stuff.
All right. Well, we'll have to do a check-in with you in a couple of weeks after you've got a wedding or two under your belt, and we'll see if this love affair with the Nikon Z7 continues, or if you're back on camera Tinder looking for the next one.
That's good. That's good.
All right, man. What do you say we dive into this week's submissions and see what's going
let's
on?
do it. Let's do it.
Let me bring up TWiP Pro here. Here we go. We got lots of good submissions. The first one looks like it's from Drake White. Yes, I want to continue. All right, Drake White. Oh, look at that one. He says, abstract for ongoing hotel project. This was with his X Pro 2. Irradiant post-processing to kick up saturation and contrast. And he's from Augusta, Georgia.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think of that?
I love these. You know, this reminds me of like, you know that. I mean, could be a bridge, could be a train car, could be a factory door, could be anything. And I dig that.
Yeah.
The colors there. This is something I would love to see big on any wall, my wall, anybody's wall. This is really cool.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. It has, when I look at shots like this, I knew you were going to like this one because of the whole post-apocalyptic distressed, thing you have going on. But
right.
When I look at this, I thought the same thing. Big, and I love the color palette, the yellows and the oranges and the reds and, all that stuff just works together. And hanging it on a wall, I could see this in some fancy Silicon Valley lobby, giant hanging in an atrium or something, or in a hotel, or, a fancy Vegas hotel or something. It just, it has that sort of feel to it that, if printed big, you could, throw a, $10,000 price tag on this thing and go
right. Printed on acrylic.
Yeah.
It's nice too. This image, it's intentional because it's sharp corner to corner. Mm-hmm. It's not like it was just it may have been a quick shot, but it's being sharp corner to corner shows intention in the maker and how he made it. And I think that's really good. And it's sharp, all the way through. We don't have any soft areas or anything like that. So those are important. And in an image like this, it's simple. So it's really hard to nitpick, right? Because there isn't a lot in there.
Yeah.
So it just speaks to how simplicity can oftentimes make an image more powerful because there isn't distractions.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And it may seem simple for these kinds of images, but it takes a certain kind of brain to even see these images, right? Some people just can't see abstracts, and they can't see like, well, yeah, that crack in the cement might be kind of cool. You know, they can't see that. Like, it's interesting that some people, I know a lot of people like that. They can't see the forest for the trees kind of people. And when you can pull out an abstract and make something like this. I think that's a talent to be commended. So
yeah, this is some of my favorite stuff. Just, you know, going anywhere, walking around with a camera over your shoulder and going, ooh, look.
Yep.
Everybody else in your group is like, dude, what are you doing? Look at that doorknob. It's amazing.
Right. All right, here's the next one. This is from Mike Doran. It's flight over San Francisco from the Marin Headlands on Saturday morning. He used a Canon 1DX 24-70 at f4 on his Enduro tripod with a Kirkball head, and he's still using his Lexar CF card. Lexar is not of this world anymore, and he's using that card. So the card's still good. What do you think of this guy?
I dig it. I think I made a comment when he posted this that it's awesome that somebody like that gets up that early so that I never have to.
You're that bird is like, I didn't want to worm anyway. There's all those early birds out there.
No, you want to go shoot Milky Way at 4 a.m? I'm down.
Yeah.
But getting up, no, not going to happen. You know, the only couple things for this image I would say is crop up from the bottom.
I knew it. That's the first thing I thought of. Like, he's gonna say crop up from the bottom.
It doesn't add. Yeah. The left I'm okay with. That little extra space, that's fine because the clouds are there. But definitely crop up from the bottom. Keep the foreground in that rough edge. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
And then just clean up the dust spots. There's quite a few dust spots in there.
Yep. I was going to say the same exact thing. Yep. Clean up those dust spots would be good. I was going to actually agree with you on the crop up from the bottom there. It's eating up a lot of real estate and not really giving much back to the user. Those dark pixels are just sitting there off, right? And not really giving us anything. The other thing was I thought it was a little bit underexposed to me. And you know, not so much the blacks, obviously, but there's some detail in San Francisco on the other side of the bay there. There's some detail in there, and the skies feels like they could be a little bit more vibrant. So it just feels like the overall tone of the image could be brought up like half a stop or something. But again, nitpicking subjectivity, right?
Right. And then nitpicking. I mean, when you're standing there, you have time to wait. Now you have this like ferry or boat or whatever it is that's crossing under the bridge, like heading away from us. Mm-hmm. And it's timed just so that it's directly intersecting the bridge. Yeah. Right. So if the shot had happened a few minutes before, or if you had waited, then I think that the bridge line, the profile of the bridge, the silhouette of the bridge would have been much cleaner. Yeah. Let that ship move on. Just wait for distractions and things like that. Makes your image simpler.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, but all in all, awesome work, Mike Doran. Very cool. Thank you for submitting this. Very awesome nice. Image. Let's move on. And the next image is, I'm lost. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Oh, that's from you. I've included a link to the book that Stephen Scharf will receive. Okay, no, we don't want that. We want this one from Stephen Scharf. Look at this. All right. Yeah. Let's get that error message off screen. I got to reload that page. It's throwing an error. Andy and Stephanie, ballet dancers. Andy Bartol and Stephanie Kim show their beautiful balletic line and extensions at Omar Z. Robles, capturing the essence of movement workshop at the 2018 Fuji Film Festival in Venice. This is with his XH1 with an 18-55 lens on it. Yeah, both Stephen and Chris Berry are down at that Fuji Film Festival.
Are they?
Yeah. Yeah,
they're kind of in my neighborhood. They're not far from me. What the heck?
Yeah, I know. You should hit them up. Say, hey, come hang out for some barbecue.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, what do you think of the shot?
You know, I love ballet dancers. It's I've only got to photograph them a couple times, and you know, doing a lot of portraits and posing people. It's just amazing to see how they move, right from the fingertips to the edge of their toe. I mean, they know how to move. Yeah. So I really dig that whole form that's going on here. The thing where I struggle with this image is it's off center, which I feel like this would be better, like a square crop and center them really well. Mm-hmm. But also it looks to me like the like the ballet dancers are soft, like they're out of focus, like
that's the
background is sharper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know if it's motion blur or if it's just out of focus slightly, ever so slightly, but it is soft, on the faces. And the first thing you look at on a shot like this with humans in it, right, is the faces. And that's where my eye went. I went to the faces, then I had to look closely. Is it? Yep, she's soft. Was that intentional? No, it wasn't intentional. So, yeah, I agree with you. And I do love ballet. Like looking at ballet dancers, I think they make some of the best models, right? Because the thing about modeling is professional models and a lot of non-professional models know their bodies and they know spatially where their limbs are and if they turn their head like this, what it does to their collarbone, and if they point their toe like this, what it does to the calf muscles. They know all that stuff and it's all intentional, right? Whereas you and I are just lumbering sacks of meat walking around. Those people move with grace and intention.
Yeah. They're beautiful. Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, this is probably like a demo area or something like that. So you might not have a lot of control over that, like posing or moving or, getting away from the background and the background's busy, but definitely focus and composition. We could definitely do that.
Yeah. And I agree. Yeah, you're right. Much like F64, you're probably in a crowd of a half a dozen or a dozen or so people, and you have some control and some suggestion over what the model does, but it's a group sort of collective effort of people shooting. So you can't say, hey, move like this for me.
Right. But then again, now that's a good environment to think about, like photojournalism or shooting in a wedding environment or doing something of that nature where I have to make an image here and I can't influence the set.
Right.
Yeah. So you have a longer lens, you have, an 85-1.4, you go for face, you go for hands, you got to think about like, okay, how I'm going to make this work and make it different.
Right. Yeah. But you're right on this one. The being off center and slightly out of focus, those are things that are easily fixable in a shot like this without having to infringe on your shooting buddy's time.
Right.
So cool. Well, thank you for submitting that, Mr. Stephen Scharf. Very cool. All right, moving right along. Next shot is from Thomas Aaron. And this one, let me get rid of this. Hang on, this is going to be an edit point. Stand by. Every time I click on a new one, it throws up an error because it wants me to
It will. It always will.
No.
I don't know why.
Are you showing leave this page? Leave the page. Hold on. Usually you just have to reload.
No, it does. It's been doing it for me continuously, no matter what computer I'm on.
Really?
So I'm thinking, it keep telling you that. Do you want to leave this? Do you want to leave this? What does it say? You're getting the same.
Yeah, this it's saying it's an unfinished post. Do you really want to leave this page?
Yeah. You haven't finished your changes yet.
Oh, interesting. That's a bug then.
Yeah, it's a bug. Yeah, definite bug. Started with the last update.
Okay, great. We are all beta testers. All right, here we go. Starting again. All right, let's move on to this next one. It's from Mr. Thomas Aaron. Let's get rid of that error that pops up. We think that's a Mighty Networks issue going on. Anyway, it says, just sitting here trying to figure out my new iPhone XS. Why you got to brag, man? Come on. Which I'm going to read it in a nasally voice, which I took this shot with while Rooster was wishing he was out there. I kid because I want that phone, and I'm trying to figure out reasons why not to get it, and I can't come up with many.
There's none.
Trillions
of calculations. Trillions of calculations.
Trillions. I need it. I need it in my life, and now my iPhone 10 looks like iPhone 4.
As soon as I can upgrade, my friend, my phone is going in.
Really? I'm eligible right now. Anyways, he says nearly no processing on this image other than cropping and straightening, but I pretty much like it the way it is. Nice. So no processing, just cropping. Let's bring this up. Look at that. And I love that people are shooting with their iPhone and submitting images into TWiP Pro photo critiques that were made with iPhone. What does that say? What does that say?
Well, I had a little bit of a chat with Stephen Scharf, and I think that maybe the next theme after the pet should maybe be like a mobile.
Hey, I'm down with that. Yeah. I'm totally down with that, especially if I have my XS by then.
Yeah, I dig it.
Which may happen today because I have to go to the Apple store and they have a buyback program when I bring all my old Apple crap in and convert it to an XS.
God.
Love it. So cool. So this shot, I love sepia tone. I love sort of the duotone look of it. I love the fact that my subject is sort of looking out and into the frame. So he's properly sort of positioned kind of loosely at a lower third in the upper right hand corner and face looking into the frame, looking outside. I don't care that the outside is overexposed because I don't care what's out there, but yet I still have a little detail out there. So I'm good with that. I wish I could have had it without those vertical blind strings in the shot, but that's just part of the world, right? So this was
right.
Everybody has those, right? So it's not a big deal that they're there. I think it would have been a minuscule, slightly stronger shot without that in there, but I wouldn't take them out. You know, it's not that serious. But I like the shot. I like the puppy there. I liked his pose. I like the choice of color treatment to it, and I know you're gonna say his head is too close to the top of the frame, but I don't mind his head that close to the top of the frame because his whole body it's almost like a yin yang. If you blur your eyes and look at the shot, it's kind of like a yin yang because you got the dark on the bottom left, or bottom right extending up, and then the light on the other side. So it's kind of a yin yang balance to me when I look at it. What do you think?
No, I agree with everything you said. The only thing I would do is I would crop up like 2 blinds from the bottom. And yes, it would be nice if there was a little bit more space above his head. I think that it's a little bit tight, but I do want to commend, is this Thomas? Yeah, Thomas, for keeping all those lines intentional, right? Like the horizontal line across the top and the vertical line in the string on the left. Very nice. I mean, that really shows, attention to the image, and aside from the composition and then the exposure and all those other things that we do. So yeah, I dig the image. I think it's very, very well done.
I think you bring up a really good point for people to sort of keep in mind when they're composing and about to press the shutter. And let me bring us up here. When you're composing and about to press the shutter, the whole idea of here we go. The whole idea of shooting with intent comes through, right? So anybody can just whip up the camera, put it in auto or intelligent auto or whatever, and click the shutter, and you've got a properly exposed image or whatever. But when you take the time, even in post-processing, when you take the time and people that are looking at the image can tell, like you could totally tell that he was meticulous about making sure those lines in there were perpendicular and straight and all that. That comes through, even on a subconscious level, I think, to people. It comes through that this artist took a little time to make sure that this shot was correct versus like, oh, here's a dog looking out the window. Click. Okay. Anyway, what were we talking about? So
and not making excuses about, oh, I couldn't control the scene, or I didn't have influence over that. Well, you do. You almost always do. And when you push the button, you're responsible for the image, right? So the more that you can see ahead of time, a little shift to the left, a little shift to the right, a little camera tilt, whatever, to get that image the way you want it to be, that just makes better imagery right away.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right. Let's jump back in. Here's our puppy. Let's move on to the next one. And thanks, Thomas, for submitting that. It's awesome.
Yeah, great.
All right, move on. Tim Ingle. Oh, Tim Ingle. Tim Ingle's in here with his curve altering self.
Well, and this is a great image that talks about intent. He put that shadow right where he wanted it to be on purpose, right? Like you tilt the hat, you tilt the head. I mean, that reveals just the mouth. If it was a little higher, a little bit lower, it would have been odd because it would have intersected the nose or the lips, and it wouldn't have felt the same. I love this image because it's intentional. There's a lot of things in here that I know he did on purpose. That the shadow in her eyes, I can still see her eyes in there. Yeah, that's great. Good control of lighting. And it's such a nice done. He didn't cut off any appendages, which I think is great.
Yeah, he did that on purpose. I spoke to him offline, and he's very aware that we critique him on his limb amputation tendencies. Tim, what do you got against limbs, man? What did a limb ever do to you?
I really admire Tim's work, so I hope he knows that we're teasing him quite a bit. But
yeah,
it's
because he could take it. His work can definitely take it. His work is outstanding always. What I liked about this image immediately when I looked at it, my brain goes to faces and geometric patterns, right? So the oval of her hat and then the V of her dress kind of draping as like an oval and a triangle right there. And in fact, she's comprised of mostly triangles. When you look at it, even the light on her mouth is a triangle. So your brain starts thinking in that direction. I see triangles everywhere in this shot, in a circle, and it's all lit white, so it all works together, for me at least, to become a pleasing image. And definitely, and it's interesting to look at Tim's work, because it's not like you could look at this image and say, oh, that's a Tim Ingalls shot right there. It's just a brilliant fashion shot, and it shows his range and the control of light that decades of doing this will give you. So. Right.
And I think it's also worth pointing out, when you mention, the circles and triangles, whether you can identify them or not, or that you didn't even know they were there, your brain loves those things.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, our brains love patterns. They love to complete patterns. We love circles. We love triangles. We love those kind of shapes. So whether you really think about it or not, or you realize it or not, those things work. They work in your images. And if you can do them intentionally, all the better.
Yeah, nature loves triangles. In fact, I love cats, and cats are made up of all triangles. Especially when they're sitting down, they're just a bunch of triangles right there.
Yep, a whole bunch of triangles.
That's it. Even their noses are triangles. Love it. Cool, very cool. Thank you, Tim Ingalls, for that shot. All right, moving right along. Mark Harris says, new entry in my body abstraction continuing series, Nikon D850 with a Zeiss 21mm f2.8 at f11, ISO 3200, 1/80th of a second, lighting again from a single Westcott ice light with barn doors. He loves that Westcott, man. He loves the ice light.
Yeah, it's easy. Turn it on. Point it.
I love it. Yeah, it is. It's daylight balanced, and you have full control over it, especially throw some barn doors on it like this.
Yeah.
Again, this is one of those abstract shots, right? Where I look at it and I'm like, probably like everyone else, like, okay, what is this? I know it's a human. I know that skin. Yeah. Like, it could be a pig, but I know it.
Yeah, no.
I mean, pigs have a similar texture, especially in black and white, right? But when I look at this, I'm like, okay, what part of the body is this? And then I give up and just start looking at it and appreciating it for being an abstract shot. And that's kind of where I am now. I still don't know where this is, but I love it. I love that it's just a sliver of light in a sea of darkness that has enough texture so that you know what it is, that it's probably human, and it's probably human skin in there, but that's all you know. That's it. What do you think?
No, I totally agree. I mean, these are some of my favorite images to see popping up, and I'm glad Mark keeps continuing to show them. Because again, it's an abstract kind of thing in our brains. Everybody can have it the way they want, right? Like you can look at this and see whatever you want to see, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
So for me, that's really wonderful. In an image like this, because of the way it's angled in the frame, I feel like we have a lot of dark on the lower right hand side. And maybe that's just a rotation of the camera so we fill the frame better, or you get yourself a little secondary light over there way back off to the right just to give a little bit of fill in there, because maybe that'll help us see into that space a little bit and still be mysterious. When you have a lot of negative space, it can draw your eye away, just as if you have a bright spot, right? And you're going to look at that and wonder, like, what is in there? It's not adding to the image as much as I think that it could. I mean, you could definitely crop this and get it a little bit more square, and that would solve a problem. I mean, not a problem, but that would solve that idea.
Yeah.
These are great. These are cool. These are fun.
Where my brain is demented, right? So when I look at this shot, I start thinking compositing. I'm like, oh man, this would be cool if this was like, you put a person on this, a little tiny person walking on it, leaving footsteps.
I think you say that every time.
I want to see people on these bodyscapes. I want to see a person walking on it, leaving footsteps. Come on. What's so hard about that? No, just kidding. I love it. All right, moving right along.
Yeah, great job.
Thank you, Mark Harris. You rock on that. All right, here's James Glennie for the pets theme. You know what I was thinking? Because we're seeing pets shots sort of mixed in with this critique, and we're not doing the official pet judgment until judgment, which is a bad word. We're not doing the official sort of pet show until later this month, right? So
yep.
I'm thinking what I'll do is, much like we did the contest for the 10D giveaway, what I'll do is I'll create a post in the photo critique category. Then I'll, write up a little bit about this is for the pets theme, yada, yada, yada. And then to submit for critique within the pets theme, all you got to do is the same thing you did for the 10D contest. And that's make a comment to that post and attach your photo to that. That way we have them all in one post. All the photos are there. And then when we do that show, we'll just go to that post and scroll through the comments and bring those images up full screen rather than have them. Yeah, I'd rather have them in the general population of all the photo critique images. We can segregate them off into a single post. Make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
All right,
good
cool.
thinking.
But for this one, since they're already in here and these people had the foresight to be on game and get their images in quickly, we're going to critique these now.
Yay!
But going forward, folks, if you want to submit into a themed category, we'll have a post. Like I'll create a post after the show that for the pets theme. And just go ahead. If you've already posted into this category, like this shot from James, go ahead and repost this as a comment into that post that I'm going to write. And then that's where Troy and I will look for when we do the review of that category.
Yep.
All right.
That'll be easy.
Cool. And with that said, cats.
Yeah, this is Daisy.
All right. He said for the pets theme, it's so hard to choose just one photo, especially since my trashing is terrible. I'm assuming he means culling. So I'll give you one of each of our furry housemates. This one is Daisy. This is with his Canon 6D with a 7200 f2.8 lens on it. Shot at half a second, ISO 100 at 170 millimeter. Look at that. Calico. You gotta love the calicos.
Yeah. No, I love this. One of the things I like, one of my favorite things about photographing, pets or cats is getting in really, really close and doing abstracts, with the ears or the eyes and just over the tail and things like that. Mm-hmm. But this image as it sits is really wonderful with the light and everything. It just needs a tighter crop. Mm-hmm. It's heavy on the top. It's a little heavy on the right. We could definitely come in a little tighter and hide some more of that background.
I agree 100%. Especially on the right side of the frame, I think that's some furniture or something sitting there. But by the fact that I had to make that statement, I think that's some furniture right there, is that you could probably lose it. Right. So
right.
Crop in a little bit tighter on our supermodel right there. And we're good to go.
Yep. Yeah, and there's those triangles working right there on her head.
You see the triangles, right?
Yeah, of course.
Cats are all triangles. I love it. All right, moving right along. And thank you, James, for that image. Next one. Hey, another cat from James. All right, so he says this one is Scott. He was very helpful with taking down our Christmas lights. Scott looks guilty right there, doesn't he?
Scoff.
Oh, Scoff. Sorry, yeah, I read that as Scott. Yeah, Scoff. Sorry, Scoff.
I was going to say Scott would be a cool name for a cat.
Yeah.
You go outside, call your cat, like your neighbor's like, who's Scott?
Yeah. But this was with his Canon 6D with a 7200 f2.8 lens on it, shot at 1/800th of a second, ISO 1600 with a 200 millimeter. Let's bring that up. There's Scoff with his, with his work, his handiwork, taking the Christmas lights down. Now, when I'm looking at Scoff, I'm looking at his eyes, and his eyes look a little soft. Do you see that? Are his eyes soft to you?
No, I think they're probably sharp. It's hard to tell. I can't really zoom in. I mean, the whiskers look sharp, so I'm guessing, somewhere in there, the face is pretty sharp. The whiskers, the fur below his face it looks fairly sharp. So that means the eyes are probably within that range. So, I mean, it looks good. I mean, this one is the same as the previous. I just think we have a lot of extraneous space around our kitty there that we could crop down and get us in closer. We don't need to see the whole pile of Christmas lights either. I mean, just even the the part that's closer to her face, his face, right? Like that would work. I mean, we know what the cat's doing. He's there helping.
Yeah, guilty as charged right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He looks like he gets in the stuff, doesn't he? He has that look.
Yeah.
Look at those eyes. He's like, what, me? I didn't do it.
See, I'm looking forward to the pet theme. It's going to be good.
It is going to be good. It is going to be good. I'm digging it. Cool.
I'm going to have to put something in there. I'll put an image in there.
Nice. All right. Steven Sharf's in here again. All right. Perfect. And Steven says, what do you say about this one? Line and extension, dance photography. Dancer Stephanie Kim shows her beautifully extended balletic line. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. This is again at the Fujifilm thing. This is with its XH1 1855 28 millimeter 1/800th of a second f4 with the Acros film profile. All right. Let's bring that up. Nice. Again, those lines, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I dig this one. This one's really nice, and I like it in black and white because I'm sure there's a lot of colors and things going on there that are distracting. I think that, again, for me, it's crop, right? I mean, I like the space in front, but I wish there was more space behind. And you can actually crop down that top just a little bit.
Yeah.
Create a little more tension in there. But what a great capture. I mean, you could almost crop this like a square and get in tight all the way around, make the same space as like on her back left toe, and really, really just put her in that space. That would look pretty
cool. Capture in that box, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, when I was looking at this, it looks like it's tilted to me. Like I'm looking at the horizontal lines in this and in those plants in the background. I don't know if that's intentional. He wanted her sort of aiming up towards the upper left-hand corner of the frame. But I'm looking at it, and the first thing I see is that the line between light and dark, where that's creating her shadow. And then my brain wants to is it just his positioning, or is it actually tilted? And I look at the wall in the background, those cinder blocks. I can see the lines on the cinder blocks are also tilted, as well as the vertical lines back there. So it looks like the whole thing is tilted to the right a little bit. So I'm not sure. It doesn't kill the image for me, but I want to know if that's intentional and what it would look like if it was perfectly vertical. Like, what do you think?
I didn't really even notice that. I was looking at her, but you're right. I think that it worked tilted this way if that was intentional. I don't think it's bad.
No.
But, it's always good to look at those vertical lines to decide, what do I want to do with these? So a little bit of a creative tilt is always okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm wondering, if it was a creative tilt, because it looks like it is, based on the position of her body, and tilting it adds more stress and more activity to the frame, because now she's really working and pointing uphill. Right. Versus just horizontal. But yeah, Steven, let us know. Was that intentional, or what was your mind? What was your mindset behind the tilt in this image?
Yeah. Yeah. I just love her hands in this shot too. This is the kind of thing that when you're posing somebody who's not a dancer, and you need to get their hands to look relaxed, and that's hard to do. Because, but it just changes the whole mood, right? Like if those hands were clenched or bent weird, it wouldn't be as much flow.
Yeah, for sure.
Good examples in posing right there.
Yep. Very nice. In human form. All right. Let's move right along. Wow, we're getting through these. All right. Next one is from Mike Brookbank. And Mike says, weather wasn't too cooperative this weekend. Perfect for monochrome. Fuji X-T3 with 35 millimeter f2, ISO 250, 1/500th of a second at f8. Let's open that up. All right. What do you think?
Infrared is what I think.
You want to see this in infrared?
Yeah, my brain goes right to infrared when I look at these kind of shots, because those clouds. Oh, but if it was shot in color, you can grab the blue that's in that sky. I'm assuming that it was fairly blue, and you could pull that down, just the blue, and that's going to darken the sky around the clouds, and the clouds are going to pop, which is one of the things infrared would do.
Yeah.
Other than that, I really dig the shot. It's just a really nice outdoors landscape, place I wish I was.
Yeah, no, I love it. And you know what I've noticed? You haven't said that you need a bride in a shot in a while. This shot doesn't need a bride on the shore there with a long white wedding dress, kind of looking
No.
intently over the hills back there.
Wouldn't hurt. Wouldn't hurt. Put her out on the left-hand side on that little peninsula that sticks out right there in the lower left corner.
Yeah.
And then have her walk out towards the water. That's where you'd want her right there, that lower thirds. But yeah.
Well, how would you light that? Is it even possible to light someone like that?
That would be the magic of dodging and burning in Capture One.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that. So well, we can move on from this image. This is really cool. Thank you, Mike, for this image. Oh, let me give some thoughts on this image before I leave it. So my main thoughts are, overall, I like the shot. I thought you were going to say bring the top down a little bit to concentrate it. The sort of the eye of the user on the mountain range in the foreground. But that's probably I would do. I'd probably lose a little bit of the clouds on the top. Overall, the image feels a little bit low contrast. This is subjective, again, nitpicking, right? So from a nitpicking perspective, I like to see a little bit crisper, a little bit more pop, and a little bit more brightness in there.
No, I agree. I had to leave something for you to talk about.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
See, I'm a giver.
Yeah, dropping little kibbles for me. Thank you. I appreciate that. But overall, cool shot. This is really nice.
Yeah, it's great.
I love it. All right, moving right along. Thank you, Mike, for that. All right, next shot. Oh, what I was going to ask you was about in Capture One, right? Mm-hmm. So in Lightroom, when you're doing selective corrections, you can click the checkbox and have it restrict the selection or the correction to a range of colors. So basically auto select, right? Mm-hmm. Does Capture One have that concept where you can, like, if someone, if I have a green shirt on and I want to just adjust the green, can you paint a mask to just target that color?
Yeah, it's even better than that. You can actually go in and select that color and create a layer mask off of that color. And then in that layer mask, you can go in and paint out any similar colors. So let's say you have on a red shirt and there's a red cup in the background. Then I could paint the red cup out and then just leave the selection of your shirt. And then I could manipulate your shirt with all of the adjustments that Capture One offers, except for the black and white feature. Like the conversion to black and white, you can't. That's not something you can use in layers. But everything else you have access to. So yeah, it's quite amazing.
Fantastic. Cool. All right, I said it. It was just a question that popped up. I was just wondering if you could do that. It sounds like it's more powerful than what's in Lightroom.
Yep. And it works, and it doesn't crash your computer as much.
All right, here we go again. All right.
Distracted.
Here's another shot from Mike Brookbank, and he says, what little errors? Annoying. He says, parts of some ruined concrete structure in the woods caught my eye. Fuji X-T3 with 35 millimeter f2, ISO 160 at 1/60th of a second at f2 in Palmer, Arkansas. Look at that. Yeah,
now I haven't said this whole critique.
I know, black and white.
Yeah, and the reason is this is sort of a distance type of texture image, right? Like there's not a specific subject in here that you look at immediately. Yeah. I mean, it's obvious to him what he was photographing, right? So for Mike, I mean, what you felt and what you saw when you were there, but the viewer, we just see these, these lines and these shapes and these textures. And I think that's better rendered in black and white or a monochrome or something of that nature, a cool tone maybe throughout the whole image or something. Yeah. I like it. I like the edginess of it and things like that, but the colors aren't working.
Yeah, you're right. And the rule of thumb, I know people are getting sick of us saying this all the time, but it's the whole, if color's not adding to the image, take a look at see what it looks like without it in there.
Right.
And I agree, without the color in this shot, I'm not looking at the foliage or the leaves or wondering what time of year it is. And, those sorts of things, like those little specks of green in there they're not really adding anything to the image for me. Whereas if you took all that out and just went straight black and white, contrasty maybe on this shot, then it becomes about, oh, I know this artist was trying to show me that this is a sort of busted down concrete structure in there, and those rocks would sort of pop out more. Now, how would this look in infrared, by the way? Would the foliage, I would guess, knowing what I know about science, I would guess that the rocks would go darker because or would they? Because things that reflect more of infrared, which are greens and foliage and that color range, get brighter and whiter, right?
Well, that's where there's a little bit of confusion between infrared, because there's the movies you've watched where they put on infrared goggles and they can see, humans behind walls.
Yeah.
Right. That's a different infrared. That's infrared heat that they're looking at. We're not looking at heat. So the infrared light with the camera is only about the light from the sun that bounces and eventually enters the lens of the camera and hits the sensor. So in this case, wherever the sunlight is, that's where infrared light is sitting. And it's going to be brighter. It's going to also want more exposure. And then anything in the shade is going to go almost black. So this image is probably not going to render the way that you see it here. It's going to be much more black and white, high contrast. You're going to lose a lot of the shadow. But it's very cool. So something to think about when we're out taking photos, and I'm not saying that Mike did this with this one, but when you walk up to a scene and you're standing there about ready to take a photo, ask yourself how I can do something different than if somebody else was standing in the same place, right? Like if I was standing here and you were standing here and the next person was standing here and they wanted to take this photo, like, what am I going to do different, right? I'm going to put on a wide angle lens. I'm going to climb into the bushes a little bit. I'm going to put the rocks in the foreground and, whatever.
Yeah.
How can it be different than if just somebody else were standing there?
Put yourself in kind of a virtual workshop, right? Where you've got half a dozen people and an instructor, and you're like, okay, here's your subject. Take a photo. And you're like, all right, what can I do differently than the rest of these jokers are going to do?
Yep.
Right. So you carry that crowd of people around with you all the time. And you're like, oh, what can I do differently than this?
And I do that at weddings all the time. I'll walk by, I'll see a row of pillars and good light. I'll be like, oh, this would be great. Okay, we'll put that in the back pocket. Now what can I do that's cool?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how everything I think can be, is just let's look at it again.
Yeah. Interesting. Very cool. See, always learn something from these critiques. Love it. And again, who's shot with this? Oh, Mike Brookbank again. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Then that last shot is from Steve Van Sickle. All right. And he says, I met Rocky and his best friend at the Jefferson Memorial in D.C. yesterday. All right. Look at that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. And this kind of falls into the category of a snapshot or a quick a photojournalistic quick shot kind of thing, right? I mean, there's a lot of little elements that might be distracting. Certainly, if there was a lot more time, you could move around, focus in on Rocky a little bit more, and have his or her human in the background, like just the face as an abstract. But this is a fun shot. Like, she's got all his equipment there and her arms around him, and I think that's cool. It's a fun shot. Could crop it a little tighter on the right. I don't think we need all that space, but
yeah, I agree. Yeah, it could be cropped in a little bit tighter. I definitely want to see it cropped in a little bit tighter, and I want to see more of the crowd, because if she's sitting on the steps in DC, I'm wondering are these people tourists? Are they protesting or what?
True.
Right? I want to know.
Yeah, go bigger. Yeah, bigger shot, a wider shot, and they're a small element. Yeah, that's true. That would be cool.
Yeah, or change your perspective a little bit to get more of the crowd, and so we could see kind of where she's looking a little bit better and what those other people are looking at. Give us more of a place. But at the same time, I don't want to lose those pillars, because those pillars say government, at least in DC, right? So
right. Or you could shoot directly from behind them, and it would almost look like a couple. Right, like they've got their arm, like one's got their arm around the other one, except it's her puppy, right? Like that would be really cool. So, how would everybody else shoot this, right? Yeah. If everybody would shoot it from this angle, okay, let's get that shot because that's your safety shot, and then let's move somewhere else.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's what makes photography so fun. There's no one right answer, and there's a million solutions to capturing a shot like this. So speaking of solutions, what do you think's in that bag right there that she's holding?
Not lunch.
Not lunch. You see, again, cats, man, cats rock.
Man, you're gonna get some messages now.
Hey, bring it! I'll defend my love of cats. We've had cats since I was like old enough to talk. And cats.
Oh no, I love cats. I'm good with cats. I love them.
Yeah, cats are cool. Cool. I think that's it, man. I think we made it through. I'm gonna go in and do a quick reload here. Make sure I didn't miss any, because you know how we tend to get some images that sneak in under the line there. It looks like we got a couple. It looks like what? Your boy is in there, Peter.
No. What the heck? How does he do that?
Yeah, we got one from Peter and two from Peter. Peter got two in under the wire half an hour ago. He's already got likes on him. That's awesome. All right, let's get those in here. It's awesome because he got him in. All right, Peter with his Canon 5D.
They both 16. Suck. We'll just move on.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Horrible work. No, this one's crazy. Look at this. Talk about abstracts, right? Look at that. I'm looking at the globe or the sphere. 16
millimeter. That is crazy. I don't even know what I don't.
It looks like a one of those traffic mirrors that you see all over Japan, because Japan is, the streets are so congested. They have these little mirrors at intersections so you can see around the corner. That's kind of what it looks like.
Okay, but where's Peter?
That's true.
Like,
wait, is that him right there in the top? Look, the dark character standing next to, it looks like a woman. I can't tell. Like right here, I'm circling it with my mouse, which you can't see.
That's a crazy cool shot.
It is.
Crop down from the top so that it's same as on the bottom.
Yeah. Oh, and what about in on the sides? Like, see the support on that globe on the top right? Would you lose that or keep that in?
I would edit it out. I would have taken it out. Yeah. But this is crazy. I need to know more. I need to know more.
This is bothering me.
Yeah, this is what Peter's going to do now, right? Like, he's going to sit there and go, I got stuff you'll never figure out.
Yeah, we'll say "ha" with that Australian accent, so it'll sound cooler, right?
But I love the perspective looking down the street. I love how it's slightly tilted, so it's very Alice in Wonderland. Very off, a little disjointed. I think that's great. The red lights actually add a little bit of a distraction, if you will, but a good distraction to look at and think like, God, what is? I don't know. What is very Escher? This feels very Escher to me.
Yeah, it is. It is very cool. This is definition of abstract, though, and using your location, right?
Right.
Yeah, very cool. I love the color treatment too, because he sort of desaturated sepia kind of ish in there, but then those red magenta lights are in there, sort of making you think.
He got that preset from me.
Did he really?
Yeah. The rodent.
But I gotta argue, he's used it much better than you ever have, man.
Yeah. This is true.
Hey, Peter, that was a bone for you. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, Peter, by the way, if you're listening, people are loving my change purse. I just want to tell you about that. My little change thingy you gave me. You know what I'm talking about. It's in the car, and I trick people into holding it all the time. They love it. So.
Oh my gosh! Now everybody's listening. They're going to need to know what that is. So at some point,
you got to go ahead and tell them. You got to tell them. Tell them what it is.
Well, you're going to have to do a reveal.
All right, I'll do a reveal. Frederick's Peter Lebschen car change holder. You might have. What?
Let's see if we can get one.
Oh, as a giveaway
for the winner of something. Yes,
that would be good for the winner of the pet category.
Peter, we're asking. It's up to you.
Yes. Yeah, Peter, hook us up so that we can give away that item. that causes a lot of controversy. So
that's great.
I love that
so
thing.
Awesome.
I love getting changed now because I got to put it in there. It's very cool. So we'll share what that's all about later, so that we'll share it on the show when we're doing the pet critique. We'll share what that cool thing is. And hopefully Peter will give us. So I want to talk about it till he gives it to us. All right. Well, cool. Well, thank you, Peter, for submitting this and showing Troy Miller up with his own preset. Very good.
Yeah. Ouch.
Very nice. You got to put your presets up for sale somewhere, man, so people can grab them.
I do.
All right. And the last one is Speaks for Itself from Peter Levshin. Let's bring this up. Oh, this is scary. Look at that. Did he have any commentary on this one?
No.
Nope. Just speaks for itself. There you go.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's fun. I think it's a really fun shot. I'm thinking you could probably crop off that right side and get rid of that
scooter,
motorcycle. Yeah, I think you could probably get rid of that. But I wouldn't crop it anywhere else. Maybe a little bit on the left just to get rid of whatever the building part is. But I love the fact that the body shop sign is in there. That their logo is in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I don't know that I would crop. Yeah, I'd want to get rid of that motorcycle. I would maybe try cloning it out of there because I like having her shoulder, and cropping it all out. It feels like it would remove too much of her and imbalance the image a little bit more. And then I'd want to go to the other side to crop some off. And now I'm getting too close to the copy over there. I don't know.
Yeah. So any reasonable photographer would have gone and moved the scooter.
Yeah. Well, Peter's short. He probably can, We're just messing with you, Peter. Come on, don't get upset.
Yeah. He's throwing stuff at his computer right now. I can see it happening.
I love it. Well, cool shot.
No, I dig it.
I'm guessing this is in LA somewhere, right? It's got to be
anywhere. Peter, world traveler.
Well, that's right. Yeah, Peter has been the four corners of the globe. This could be anywhere, and I can't see. Well, it's someplace that speaks English, obviously, but I can't tell where it's from.
Yeah, tell us where that's at, Peter. Put it in the comments.
Very nice. Cool. Yeah, and this is an example of so obviously this photo, this poster has been vandalized, right? So, and by vandalizing it, has created a brand new piece of art, nature's way to beautiful, and they made her as ugly as she possibly could be, right? So,
right. Yeah,
nice juxtaposition and capturing that juxtaposition in a third piece of art. So there was the first part where it was originally intended to be a poster, and then there was the graffiti people that came by and messed it up, and then Peter came by and recorded that. So yeah, not bad.
Yeah. And it's a good example that the beauty is underneath, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. Underneath the marker, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Peter, for submitting that. That's cool. We know what Peter's doing on his Monday afternoon, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Very cool. All right. I think that's it. We got all of them, man. Some good submissions this time around, huh?
Yeah, great images. Yeah. Always great images.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if it's us or if it's the group or whatever, but the tide is getting higher, right? And people are doing better and better work. And these are before we're doing not so much we were reaching, but we were given a lot more nitpicking before,
right?
And now we're really nitpicking because we're like, well, let me find something bad about this image.
Yeah. Well, as the community grows, there's going to be more variety and then a better quality of images. I mean, this is great. This is really great.
Yeah. People are doing great. All right, we're at the hour mark, right on the hour mark exactly for this.
Bang.
Well, it'll be a little bit shorter because we got a little bit of editing to do. But what do you think? If people, well, first of all, let me reiterate the whole pets thing. So if you want to submit into that pets contest that we're doing, or the pets critique themed show, there will be a blog post or a post within the photo critique topic within TWiP Pro. All you got to do is go in there, find that post. I'll make it obvious. I'll put a picture of a cat, probably. Put a picture of a cat on that and write a little blurb about what the rules are. Then all you got to do is comment on that post and attach your photo. Within Mighty Networks, you can attach photos to comments, to blog post comments or to post comments. So just attach your photo there. And when we do the show, we're going to look at that solely at that category and look at the images within the comments as part of our criterion. So please do that. And even if you've submitted a photo of a pet already, please go back and resubmit it into the comments for that topic that I'll create. And then I'll be sure that we get to it. Otherwise, we're probably going to miss it because we're only going to look in that category. And
yeah, it'll get buried in the feed.
It will get buried in the feed, yeah. And we're going to beg member Peter Levshin for the prize from Down Under, literally and figuratively. So let's see.
Oh, okay.
Come on, that was good.
That was good. That was really good. Yeah, that wasn't terrible.
You all will get the joke when you find out what the prize is going to be. It's
yeah.
The prize from Down Under. We'll call it that. All right, cool, man. So if people want to catch up with you, spicyjello.com, right?
Yes.
All
Soon to be changed. I'm in the process of reworking that. And you mentioned presets. Pretty soon I'm going to have some presets and textures and all kinds of goodies on there. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. About time, man. I
know.
You've been letting them marinate? Like, what's going on?
I want them perfect. I want them perfect.
Yeah, please spread that around to software developers around the world. So don't ship until it's perfect. No. Yeah, take your time and ship when it's closer to perfect. Doesn't have to be perfect. Cool. And of course, if you want to catch up with me here, TWiP Pro, if you want to join TWiP Pro, if you're not a member yet, just go over to TWiPPro.com and sign up and become a member. If you want to follow TWiP, just go to thisweekinphoto.com, or you can find the podcast everywhere. It's on Stitcher, it's on Google, it's on iTunes, it's on Spotify, we're everywhere. So however you want to consume This Week in Photo, please do so. And that's it. That's it for this episode, man. I think it's time to go.
Sweet.
Time to go do some more photography. What do you think?
Yeah. Lunch first.
Oh, yeah. There's a ham sandwich with my name on it. I need to go grab that. All right, man. I'll see you next time.
All right, buddy. Take care.
This is TWiP.